All of that hard work for 24 hours around Spa feels like a lifetime ago. 2 weeks later, we're back on the road. It is the second event of the year in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. They were at Brands Hatch, then we went back to endurance races, and now the Sprint Cup kicks into life once more. Not only that, but here in the sunshine, in very high temperatures in Misano, it is the biggest ever grid for Sprint Cup. 42 cars have entered. That beats 38, the previous record, which was also a Misano grid. This is going to be quite something. It's also given us a change to qualifying that we'll come to in a moment. David Addison and John Watson, trackside. Watty, I'm glad to tell you, he's not quite in his bathing trunks. But John, it's a very hot weekend in Italy.
David, be prepared for another screamer here at Misano, because temperatures are off the radar. And right now, this is as cool as it's going to get at any point over this two-day weekend race meeting.
This is the circuit, and it's flat, but it's fast, John.
Yes, 4.2 kilometres, 16 turns. I'm still racing the track as we go around the track end, 14, 15, and there we are, through 16, back onto the start-finish straight, and that is the fastest lap you will see at any point this weekend.
Now, what has changed about the lap? Let's get this out of the way, first of all. Yellow bananas, talking point in previous seasons, those so-called sausage curbs put in behind the main curb that have acted as a ramp. Overnight, the FIA have issued a bulletin giving the circuit permission, effectively, to change the track during a meeting. Those curbs have been removed.
Yes, turns 1 and 2, just at the very end of pit straight there you see going under the bridge into turn 1 and turn 2. And then the final two turns, 15 and 16, those sausage curbs, there is the exit of 16, flat as a pancake, just welcoming anybody who wants to abuse track limits. And of course, if you do so, you're going to get your hands and legs and whatever smacked.
You are. And the amount of smacking depends on the amount of abuse you give to those curbs. Now, that's one change then, that's the circuit. The other change is to the way that qualifying is going to operate. You're familiar, no doubt, if you watched the championship before, with qualifying being 20 minutes, and that's it. Everyone goes and does probably 2 runs. Here, it's still a 20-minute session, effectively, but in 2 parts. So, for today, because of the size of the entry, and to give people a fair chance of having clear track space, for the first 10 minutes, the pros and the gold class will go, and then there'll be a 2-minute break, effectively, as one set come in and the others go to the end of the pit lane, and then a second 10 minutes for the Silver Cup and the Bronze Cup. Note, Bronze Cup, we have a Bronze Cup entry. We didn't at Brands, but that has burst back into action for this weekend. So what that means is, on the one hand, you've got a clearer track, but on the other hand, you've got less time in which to do a qualifying run, only half of the normal time.
And it'll still be a very busy track, because there's 42 entries here this weekend, and if you divide that by 2, you'll get 21, and 21 cars all out on the track at one time. You've got a 10-minute window to go out, do your out lap, do maybe 4 at maximum, more likely 3 flying laps. There's no time to come in for a change, so you're going to rely on all the running that took place yesterday. We had 2 sessions yesterday, so cars lining up. Valentino, first car to go onto the track.
So Valentino Rossi is going to be first in the queue, and WRT making sure that he gets out early to try to find that clear track space. Remember, it's one driver, one session as well. So the drivers then having been nominated as driver 1 or driver 2, while driver 1 does today's qualifying, and of course, therefore, will be the start driver for today's race. 60 Lamborghini of Fort Pereira, and we know that he is very rapid indeed, so Font Pereira will go first in that car. What it means, of course, is that the second driver doesn't get into the car until during the race. They have no running at all until they're thrown into that bear pit of the race. Green flag now waved.
So track is green. Valentino first car into turns 4 and 5. That amalgamates as really one big curve rather than separate corners. Then the quick flick, and Valentino already has the whole car basically inside what might be the demarcation, through the curve of 7, and then down into one of the principal overtaking areas, if you can make it work. And that is into turn 8. If you look at Frederick Reviche, come to you racing Audi, all set to go out, and the clock is already, well, we've got 9 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Valentino Rossi still the lead car as they come up to complete this out lap, and then it will be pedal to the metal to try and get a lap in on board. This is actually That Rossi is on the circuit coming down the back straight with the 88 Mercedes, just dived in ahead of it to try and get clear air to ensure that when they go onto their flying lap, there's no interference, aerodynamic or otherwise.
So this is Valentino Rossi's view. Raffaele Marciello has gone out in 88 Mercedes. Gilles Magnus has gone out in number 21 Audi. So that's going to be a competitive car as well. That runs within the Gold Cup. Right, here is Lello then. Raffaele Marciello, interestingly, getting himself to the head of the queue and starts a flying lap now. So this is the one that's going to count.
Yes, and this is the point when your tyres, we talk about it every race, first flying lap is when the tyres are at their freshest, particularly here. Misano, when the ambient and track temperatures are high by normal standards, European standards, they're cool right now by the standards we've seen over Misano over the last couple of days. Valentino ran slightly wide, going through 4 and 5, just running a little wider than Marciello did. Marciello, understandably, has got the fastest second time in Sector 1, so he's the first car to break that beam time for Valentino. We're waiting to see what he's got coming up. It didn't come up on our timing and scoring as yet. So
a lap time nobody has yet done. Marciello absolute best in the first sector, a 23.912. Valentino Rossi at 24.2, so he's about 3/10 down. But of course now, look, Marciello is on a push lap. Others up the road ahead, still building up. They're still weaving. Charles Wirtz in the red BMW from WRT, number 32, you caught a glimpse of, edging left and right to get warmth into the Pirelli tyres. So now Marciello has got to be careful he doesn't get tripped up by people that are on a much slower pace.
It's going to happen around turns 14, maybe 15, 16, so he will hope that they will get out of his way, and there you can see him coming out of 14, then the quick turn back through 15, and then the short sprint down to the final turn. Looks like he might just manage to get a clear lap without any interference. Yes, he will have done. Rossi has stayed in contact with Marciello, so Rossi done a good job, likewise in his first flying lap.
So Marciello does a 1:31.7 and Valentino Rossi 1:32.4, coming here with his confidence up, of course, in Sprint Cup after that podium at Brands Hatch, and also in a separate championship, a podium in the support race for the Le Mans Cup at Le Mans itself. Christopher Mies splits them though. The Audi goes second, 1:32.338. Audi having announced this week the end of its Audi Sport customer program, so lots of drivers will be on the job market come the end of the season. And you saw there Raffaele Marciello taking huge amounts of curb on the inside of the corner.
Yes, that was what we saw Rossi do on his first flying lap. Likewise, one of those gorgeous Ferrari 296s. Fastest, David, you pointed it out, purple. I'm not colourblind, I did get them myself. Anyway, Ferrari here in Italy, fastest overall. First sector, that is, fastest overall. Second sector by nearly a quarter of a second. Well, that's going to send a few shocks down the pit lane, because there's only, what, just over 5.5 minutes of the session to go. So if Altway can continue this pace, now that sector time is reduced.
There's nothing up the road either, is there? This is absolutely perfect, as you say. 2 purples and a clear road. Right, the time to beat is a 1:31.7, and up towards the beam he will come now. So that is fastest for Giacomo Altway. Perfect lap, 3 purple sectors, and that's quicker than Marciello by over half a second.
Yes, and that's significantly the quickest lap we've seen throughout all the running here. And again, to have this Ferrari, it's new this year. It's developing all the way through. We've seen the pace of the car at different points through the season, but here, this is emphatic that Ferrari are here at the races to win, not to make it the numbers. Marciello's gone into the pits, so Frederic Visch is currently in 3rd place. Then you've got, I would say, a plethora of Audis. Albert Costa, actually, having said that, has now got 3rd in his Ferrari, so it's Ferrari 1st and 3rd, Marciello as the meat in that Ferrari sandwich.
And Altway has done another absolute best in the first sector. Gilles Magnus, who's getting more and more impressive every time we see him, has done a personal and an absolute. So this Audi that runs in gold, it's on the gold pole at the moment, 7th. He's a little bit wide coming out of the last corner. So over the timing line he will go. Gilles Magnus goes 2nd, fastest. Fantastic drive, this. And he's done a time 3/10 down on Altway. I just hope that lap stands, because it looked a bit wide in places to me.
Well, I have to say I'm most impressed by Gilles Magnus, because we saw him last year in the FIA Motorsport Games in Paul Ricard, driving a front-wheel drive touring car. We were impressed with that. I'm even further impressed with what he's done in his come-to-you Audi this year. If you go back with Altway, completing another lap. He's got purple, green. Is he going to improve in that 31.1? Oh, no. Last 31.2. So fractionally down, but two very fast, but more importantly, consistent lap. Fred Revision's popped up, by the way, into second place.
And 2/10 down on Giacomo Altway. Raffaele Marciello, Gemma Scott from the pit lane tells us he's going on to new tyres, so there's another run coming. Now bear in mind they've only got 10 minutes, in other words there are 3.5 of those 10 for the notional Q1 still to go, this first element of qualifying. Right, we are getting lap times cancelled. Valentino Rossi has got a lap cancelled, the one that he's on, and also number 31, Jean-Baptiste Simonard, a lap time cancelled. Gilles Magnus is okay. That lap that I thought was a little bit near the knuckle coming out of the last corner, that survived.
Yeah, I mean, that's very subjective, I suppose. It's really down to the race director to see whether that is... So that is acceptable, I think, for Magnus coming out of turn 16 as he comes up to complete another lap, and he goes across start-finish line, and he will get this one more lap in, stays in third place. Audi are second, third, Ferrari first and fourth, Marcello having rejoined the circuit. He'll get one flying lap in before the checkered. I mean, actually, you know what, 10 minutes, really exciting, because it means there's no messing around, no coming in and combing your hair and putting your makeup on. You've got to get out there and get the job done.
Valentino Rossi, new set of Pirellis for number 46 BMW. That'll be one to watch. There, number 69, Albert Costa, and he is fourth quickest then. This is the sister car to Giacomo Altway, which is at the top. Costa sixth fastest at the moment. So he's been elbowed back by Verviche, and also he's lost a lap time, that's why. So Albert Costa was fourth on the graphic, he's now sixth because of a track limit violation at turn 16.
He's backed out of it, so he's now back on it again to go on to, this will be his final timed lap as well, so Costa's got a bit of ground to make up. 131.8 is the lap, he's lost a lap, but 131.0 for Altway is this lap that everybody's sort of aiming at to try and put themselves certainly onto the front row of the grid.
And we're into the last 2 minutes of this first part of qualifying. Now, we've had an absolute best from Raffaele Marciello in the middle sector. So Albert Costa is on a slowish lap, but Marciello, personal best, absolute best. This looks good.
That is a massive, massive time in the middle sector, 3.5 tenths of a second up on the previous best, which was set by Giacomo Altway. So this is Marcello's message to everybody. We are here to win this race, whether you're in a Mercedes AMG GT3 or a Ferrari.
And the answer is, he's fastest. As through goes Marciello, 1 minute 30.762, and that is under the lap record. Now, it's only a lap record if it's set in a race, but that is better than Dries van Thor's lap record in the WRT Audi of last year. So we are now below lap record pace.
And that is a stunning run from Marcello. So he didn't go out on a new set of tyres, came in, put that fresh set of rubber on, and first flying lap. Then once again, Raffaele Marciello delivers for his team. Ferrari are now trying to come back. Albert Costa looking to see if he can improve on that current sixth position, but the middle sector is down, and I doubt he's going to see any significant. He might maybe make up one position, but not enough to challenge the provisional front row.
So Marciello, Altway, Verviche, and then Magnus from Mies Costa. Albert Costa goes fifth, moves ahead of Christopher Mies. Pereira is seventh. Ricardo Feller is eighth. Dean McDonald is ninth. Adam Eteki is 10th. Haven't really touched on the championship as yet, but that is being led after Brands Hatch by Ricardo Feller and Matteo Druni, and yet Ricardo's Audi is only 8th fastest, so there's more to come as you look at number 9 here. That is the Aurelian Panis Gold Cup Audi, and that's a long way down, 16th in the times as out comes the checkered flag for the end of Q1A.
More importantly, Giacomo Altway on his final flying lap. Fastest, purple in first sector, but over half a second down in that middle sector, so all the good work in sector 1 is for nothing. So checkered flag is now taken by Aurelian Panis, and he remains in 7th position as Marcello is in the pit lane, sitting back with a 0.3 of a second advantage over Giacomo Altway, who will not improve on this final lap.
That was a good effort, though, that, by Aurelian Panis, because he was in the teens and he's up to 7th, so that puts him second in gold, chasing after Gilles Magnus. The last few cars to take the flag, 1 or 2 bail early, not so they can swap drivers, just because that's their work done, and now the cars from silver and bronze will go. They will be released in 2 minutes' time, or 2 minutes from the checkered flag going out. And then tomorrow's qualifying session is done the other way. So silver and bronze go first, and then the gold and pro, or overall as it's known, will go in that second stanza. Very, very wide there is 31. That's the Jean-Baptiste Simonard WRT BMW. And there are lots more people having track limit problems. Dean McDonald amongst them. And also number 60, having had a lap time taken off him from Pereira. Right, Jean-Baptiste Simonard, JB, up to the line. And that is a 132.664, so slightly down. Oh, and that's very down, that tyre. Now, what's that? That's Valentino Rossi. And that was on a second set, so is that curb damage?
Hard to tell. I mean, that tyre is deflated. Don't think it's punctured. The only way you could get a tyre to do that is if you hit a curb. But having had 4 of the curbs removed, so sitting at the end of the pit lane are the second group to go out, which will be the silver and bronze, and they're already underway. I mean, you can't catch your breath. And I think maybe the WR team are going to be looking at Rossi's BMW. No, well, there are 4 BMWs altogether, 14th through to 17th. Which is way, way down from where we had anticipated these cars to be.
So the gold and pro cars to the garages, silver and bronze make the circuit busy. And of course we amalgamate the times. You don't put one section ahead of the other, so these times will blend in like a normal qualifying session. We'll see who is going to be the fastest out of this group. Don't expect them to be challenging Marcello, although a really, really fast silver might throw a decent lap and get up towards the point edge of the grid.
David, you say that. There's a car number 87, Jim Pla, who we know is always, always capable of going out and matching the pros or the gold drivers, so keep an eye on number 87.
Fair
point. And just looking further down there.
Well, this is another one, Loris Spinelli, who's been around here many times in Lamborghini races, Lamborghini World Finals. The other one, I suppose, that might be there or thereabouts will be Einstein Guven in number 911, the Pure Racing Porsche. And Enrique Chavez in the McLaren could be one to watch because he was pretty impressive in his stints at Spa.
Well, I think the McLarens were stunning at Spa, Chavez in particular, but even Norman Seidler, likewise on the 112. So that's a car. But some other good times, in fact, in that pro and gold was actually Nicolas Stiergauer, who ended up 4th quickest. We didn't see him on camera, but he popped that time in at the very end. 4th quickest, just 0.6 of a second away from the time set by Marcello. So Jimmy Pla, we've just spoken about him. Here he is in the 87. And normally his pace matches that of his pro or gold teammates. So watch for this car to see what it can achieve. We've not seen any of the silver or bronze as yet because they're basically just completing runs very wide, coming out of turn 6 through 7 is really you wouldn't even squeeze the steering wheel, and then down into turn 8, which is, as I mentioned, one of the parts of the circuit where overtaking is seen. It's not easy, it's seen. The other place is actually here up onto turns 9 and 10. You can catch the unwary coming into 9, and then as long as you get yourself back into track position, a lot of gravel offline off the track just coming down to the left of picture. So Jim Pla, personal best in sector 1. So 2 more sectors to go. Goes through second sector, got even 9/10 of a second. So this is probably going to be interesting to see. In fact, Jordan Love has actually got a purple in terms of speed in sector 1, but that's not really particularly relevant right now.
So we've got effectively 4 battles to look forward to for this afternoon's 1-hour race across those 4 classes. Great to see a 42 strong entry. Sprint Cup on occasions has been a bit of a slow burn, but this year the entry has just got better and better and better. Incredibly competitive, and Jim Pla goes 15th on his opening salvo. Interesting to see, and he's not the only one. There was a bit of a wobble in the corner. I was about to say how much of the curb he uses on the outside to then look for the line for the corner, but he almost dropped it there.
Yeah, I mean, having had these curves removed in 1 and 2, that gives a bit more freedom and latitude, and likewise in 15 and 16. But generally all around Misano, or the Marco Simoncelli Autodromo, I think is the current name, it is fundamentally a circuit that is widely used for motorcycle racing. And because of their requirements for safety, they've got to have a flat run-off area, no curbing whatsoever.
Now the best of this session, Loris Spinelli, 131.6 to go 7th overall, as Enrique Chavez goes through, and he will go 11th fastest, and that's the second if you like. Second fastest time in Q1B. So 7th overall goes Spinelli, 11th is Chavez, who's now got himself stuck behind the Mercedes. This is going to affect the lap, and there's a yellow out in sector 2, John.
Yeah, well, that means everybody's got to basically back off. We don't know whether it's a car stopped, a car has gone off the circuit, or we haven't seen anything online. You can see just people are using the inside of these corners and kicking up a little bit of dust. So Lorenzo Patrese, currently on track in the 51 Audi, has made a small improvement.
And that's the reason for the yellow, and I rather fear that's going to stop the session. Is that Patrese himself that's gone off? It is.
Yeah, out of turn 6. Now, how he got there is strange, because other than he ran extremely wide coming through 6, and that's why the car's nosed itself. And he can't move the car. It's bedded in the gravel, and he's looking to try and get the marshal to say, push me back. Let me get back on track. I'm losing time. I'm going to lose the remaining part of this session.
But if he's helped out there mechanically, then I think that's his session done. So Patrese in number 99, did he do a time? No. So that's his first flying lap. And the car is in the gravel. So yellow flag. Oh, and hello, there's another one off the road. Is that Baptiste Moulin? Getting it wrong, 163 Lamborghini. No, it's Yuki Nomoto, and the red flag is now shown. So the session is being stopped. And Patrese, the cause of the stoppage. This is something else that's just happened. We saw Nomoto on the grass. Does this explain why? Gets it very, 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 very crossed up and runs wide just ahead of Einschenguven there. And off he goes, and off he goes, and off he goes.
And this is a bit of a bucking bronco kind of ride over the grass. And the front splitter, of course, is the best kind of hover mower you could ever get to cut grass. And it's all the other rubbish that you pick up going, so the car will come into the pits. No doubt some of the radiator will need to be cleaned out, and gets back onto the tarmac, and on he goes.
I was trying to work out whether he was given a little help from the Porsche there. They were certainly very, very close.
Could have been, I mean, the angle we were looking at, I would have thought there might have been a very light contact. So Enrique Chavez, who starred, certainly in my view, with a great series of stints in Spa 24 a couple of weekends ago. And Raffaele, cool as ever, laconic, looks down, looks at the timing and scoring. He knows, look, the smile on his face says, it's highly unlikely anybody in silver or bronze is going to eclipse my time. I've got a 3/10 of advantage over the next quickest, which is Giacomo Altway. And I think Raffaele is happy with life right now.
I think you're right, absolutely. He's now a Swiss citizen as well. He's been living in Switzerland for a long time. He's now a Swiss citizen as well as a Swiss license holder, but he is Italian. Right, so Lorenzo Patrese, session done. Big, big dramas in the sense that he's going to have to start the race at the back of the grid. And the best time that we'd had out of Q1B, Loris Spinelli in the Lamborghini, he excels in those cars, 131.683 from second fastest Enrique Chavez, 131.870, and Nicholas Cruton was the next, no, tell you a lie, not Nicholas Cruton, Jim Pla was the next best out of this element of qualifying. Norbert Siedler in the 112 McLaren should be a man to watch. We know how fast Norbert is. He shares the McLaren with the team owner, Patrick Krupinski. Only doing Sprint Cup, the JP Motorsport team, but Norbert Siedler made a name for himself initially in Porsches, but has now gravitated to other GT cars. Door opens from number 79 Mercedes to let some air in. That is the Haupt Racing Team car of Sebastian Bode and Hubert Haupt. And for the purposes of this weekend, Hubert Haupt has been recategorised as a bronze, so they can take part in the Bronze Cup.
So Jim Pla, car back at the pits. So I thought maybe Jim Pla was 18th overall, but not the quickest overall in this silver and bronze session. There is Patrese's car, and I hope Lorenzo isn't sitting in it, but I suspect he might be.
I think he is, because when they drop it back on the grass, he can just drive it away, can't he?
Should be able to. Don't think there's any damage of any significance that we can see around the nose of his Audi, but there might be if they continue to bounce it and drop it like that. So the marshals around the track are doing their best to keep the car. You know, somebody's got to get onto the rear of the car and gives you an indication of where the center of gravity is in that particular race car.
Does it ever? So everybody else is queued up, ready to go. We've got 4 minutes and 51 seconds remaining. Now, of course, it's a very tight timetable at Misano. We are racing even to the start. The last race today starts at 9 o'clock tonight. So there's not a lot of slack in this timetable, and therefore, from the race director's point of view, he doesn't really have the option of saying, okay, you've only got 10 minutes, we've had a red flag, I'll restart the clock at 6 to give you a bit more time. Really, as long as he's given everybody a chance to do a lap, then job done. Everybody, apart from Patrese, pretty much had started a lap. So we've got 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes left. That is enough. Oh dear, gravel dropped on the road. But
well, I don't like that at all. I don't know why they just don't put the car down, and unless there is damage we cannot see. But to trailer the car away like that and have it at that angle, it's certainly better to get it on the ground and let Patrese drive it back into the pit lane. But those are the decisions that have been made. There is the Honda. I don't see Hondas frequently enough.
I agree.
The NSX sitting in the pits, run by JAS, is that right? Or JAZ?
I think it's the Yas Motorsports team, but Nova Race is the squad that operates it. Yas built the car. Owen Zanotti is at the wheel of it. And right, we're in business then. So Patrese's car taken to that little access point. It's off the road. He's not taking any further part in the session. He will start last. Circuit goes live. 5 minutes remain on the clock. We're back in business.
So it will be a very rapid 4.5 minutes because you're going to do your out lap. It's going to take the best part of a minute, let's say 35 seconds if everybody gets on it, and then come across the line, and you'll have a little under 3 minutes to go out and look at the gravel. That's the residue of the gravel from the nose. Sort of wheel arches of Patrese's Audi. Hopefully most people will see it and stay away from it. But those that are running in close proximity to one another may not be able to avoid it. So obviously concerned about running over gravel on a racetrack. What will it do to your Pirelli tyres? Everybody appears to have driven around it successfully.
And hopefully the more cars that go past it, that will be blown aside. Won't be an issue. So those 4 minutes go very, very quickly. They'll probably get time for 2 flying laps, certainly those at the head of the queue. And Nikolai Sjægaard in McLaren number 159 has been put up to 4th in the times. That might be because Gilles Magnus has had a lap taken off him from earlier on. Yes, he did. So the lap times are still being reviewed by race control, so a switch 4th and 5th overall. However, as far as this element of qualifying is concerned, 3.33 there, which is Pietro Deliguanti, makes a rather slower approach to the end of his lap.
Yeah, he's yet to record a time. He's only had an out lap, and that was 4 minutes and 31 seconds, so that's not going to see him move up the field. So this will be his first, the beginning in reality of his first flying lap. So he's got to come through turn 15, which he does, then get himself, don't slow down now because you've got a car ahead of you. You don't want to be under that car's rear wing at the beginning of a lap. You may catch it through the lap, but certainly give yourself a bit of breathing space when you go on to your first, in effect, flying lap.
Yeah, Deliguanti we've seen in Endurance Cup, not Sprint this year, so he's onto a flying lap now. The others that have yet to do a time, Christopher Zirkling, Dennis Marshall, Sebastian Bode, Jim Pla. Now, he's had his lap time taken off him, obviously, therefore, for track limit offences. It might be that some of the others have lost them as well, but a lap time needed for Zirkling, Marshall, Bode, Pla, Deliguanti.
Yeah, Dennis Marshall, another driver who, what's he doing down in, what is it, 37th, 8th position? Well, he's only done a lap, which was 6 minutes and whatever, so he's now got his personal best, Sector 1. So expect to see that 66 Audi move up the field. That's the Trésor Attempto Racing, driven by Dennis Marshall.
And we know that he's good. We know that Zirkling is good in Porsches, so those are two to keep an eye on. And another one has lost a lap by the look of it, which is Nicola Resitano in another of the Hondas. So that's from the Nova Race team the Lamborghini of Nova Race, that's lost a lap time. So Nicola Resitano dumped to 35th. That's Patrese back in the pits. The team would like to get him out if they can. We'll see what damage there is. This is Pietro Deliguanti.
Yes, this is his chance, his basic, this lap, and then he'll have one more time lap before the checkered flag is shown, and he'll come across the line. Goes on. Let's wait and see. He looked certainly a good exit out of turn 16, whether it reflects in a reasonable lap time.
Dennis Marshall, 6th overall, and that means that he's fastest out of Q1B. So Dennis Marshall goes 6th in the Audi that he will share with Andrei Murkozov.
And Piero Delagrante likewise has made a reasonable time, 19th overall. So he'll be happy with that. He's got one more flying lap to complete, and maybe he can make further improvements. Enrique Chavez has got third fastest of all in his McLaren, 131.161, and continuing that performance, that pace that we were delighted to see in Spa. And that is a pretty impressive run, just under 0.4 of a second away from the best time Marcello set in that initial pro and go session.
So Enrique Chavez then, excellent effort, as you say, 131.161. And it's also good to see that McLaren working well as the car then hustles on. Sharing with Miguel Ramos once more. And Ramos will do tomorrow's qualifying. 81 Mercedes there. That's the car that Fabian Schiller is behind the wheel of. And he's looking good, 14th overall in 2 greens, 2 personal bests as he comes up behind Delagrante. And that's the wrong place to find him.
Yeah, there was never going to be a way. Now, Delagrante has pulled over, but has impeded Fabian Schiller. There's no question about it. Now, whether Schiller will make a comment or a protest about being impeded, but he's still got personal best, sectors 1 and sectors 2. So it will be an improvement somewhere for that number 15. I'm just looking to see where it ended up.
Fabian Schiller is 15th fastest.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Checkered flag is out. So Raffaele Marciello takes a 14th Sprint Cup pole position then by 0.307 of a second. And the one that didn't do a time, Lorenzo Petresi. Now, we've only got 41 shown on the screen, and the entry was meant to be 42, so we've lost one somewhere along the line. I'm slightly puzzled as to who's not gone out. This might take a little bit of unravelling.
In the meantime, one of your heroes, Laura Spinelli, has likewise improved in his position in his Lamborghini up into the 3rd row of the grid in 6th position.
Owen Bastard for Santaloc is the one that we've not seen.
Number 25.
Yeah. And there was an engine issue, and therefore couldn't take part, and the stewards have been asked whether they can change the engine in that car. So Owen Bastard misses Q1 in need of an engine change. Well, that's Enrique Chavez's session done, and a bronze class car with a very quick driver at the wheel of it. 3rd overall, great effort.
Absolutely, I mean, a wonderful effort, and delighted to see it. McLaren have got 2 cars in the top 6, so Shergaard did that time earlier, but eclipsed by Chavez. So a very, very good run by both McLaren drivers to get 2 cars into the top 6.
So the cars will make their way to the pit lane. 44 Porsche there. Looks stunning, that, for my money, in the Hexis colours. Stephen Pallet at the wheel of it. 911 is Ayenchen Guven, Porsche 1 Make champion, Nations Cup winner, and very, very accomplished Porsche driver. Absolutely specialises in Porsches, the Turkish driver. But in the end, 10th in the times. Ayenchen Guven shares the pure racing entry with Alex Malikin. And there's the Honda, of which we were talking earlier on, with Leonardo Mancini at the wheel of that car, bringing it down the pit lane. So that's Q1 done. And although there might be 1 or 2 lurking in the system, then this is how they qualified. Raffaele Marciello takes sprint pole 14 from Giacomo Altue, and Enrique Chavez tops Q1B and goes 3rd overall ahead of Fred Verviche, Nikolai Shergaard, and Loris Spinelli, also well up there in 6th. Gilles Magnus 7th ahead of Dennis Marshall, 8th. 9th, Albert Costa, and 10th, Ayenchen Guven. From that top 10, remember that Chavez is the quickest in bronze. Gold pole to Gilles Magnus, and the best of the pro class, of course, is overall Raffaele Marciello. The best of those in the silvers, Jordan Love in 14th. He outpaced class rival Pietro Delagrante, who got up to 21st and 23rd overall as EPL Perez Compact. Gemma Scott is in the pit lane. She's got a pole man with her.
Well, Lello, after that fresh set of tyres, you certainly showed us exactly what the time is to beat.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good quali for sure. The car was amazing. After the first stint, when they told me in front is someone 31-1, I said, like, it would not be easy to improve, but I mean, putting the second set and not many did it, for sure gave me an extra boost, yeah.
Absolutely. And now, of course, the race to come this afternoon, it's going to get much hotter than it is now, and there's going to be a much busier track.
Yeah, I mean, it will be hot, but it's the same for everyone at 10. So, I mean, I just have to stay in front to save a bit the tire, and then, yeah, we'll see Timur what will do.
Have a great race. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
So Raffaele Marciello, just picking up on Gemma's point, it is going to be a much busier circuit, but he worked that Mercedes hard, and 0.3 of a second, that's a good margin. Of course, what he needs to do is to try and build a gap for Timur Boguslavski to protect.
Yes, he's got to make sure he gets into turns 1 and 2 ahead of the rest of the field, and if he achieves that, then he's got a very good chance of dominating the race up until the completion of his stint, then hands over to Timur Boguslavski, and it'll be in Timur's hands to take it to the flag.
Let's look at the highlights of the first qualifying of the weekend. Raffaele Marciello topping the times, and he was the fastest in the first part of qualifying. Valentino Rossi was out early as well, desperately trying to get himself clear track space, and ultimately on a second set of tyres, a deflated front left rather compromised the challenge. Number 21 Audi was another car hustling on, that in the hands of Gilles Magnus for the goal pole. As number 12 Audi in the hands of Fred Vervies ran a little bit wide. Giacomo Altuve was looking strong for Ferrari, and it's going to be fascinating to see when we go racing the battle between the cars with aero and the cars with lots of grunt, and it was grunt that prevailed. Raffaele Marciello going to the top for that 14th Sprint Cup pole. The second part of qualifying getting underway with the silvers and the bronze drivers, such as Fabian Schiller being out on the track, and it was Enrique Chavez who was the man that came out on top of that and got third overall as well. Lorenzo Petresi into the gravel, he was able to rejoin and drive to the pit lane. So it's going to be a fascinating first race with 42 cars on the track. We look forward to your company later on in the day. For now though, from Gemma Scott and John Watson and David Addison, goodbye from Misano.